Right, so on to today, we're going to talk about science, and I'm going to start off with just a little kind of like a thinking activity, something that I think is quite good just to get the brain working. It's called Odd One Out, and you can do this with absolutely anything. It's a really good one to just pick up and do with kids, or kids to do with parents, and see if they're thinking clearly and logically or creatively. So take any three objects. So we're going to do this with salt. That is our kitchen salt pig. Okay, and we're going to also, I'm hoping you can see that. And we're also going to talk about vinegar, and we're also going to talk about ketchup. So I had hoped to set up one of the polls, the Facebook Live polls, but that's not worked this morning. So we're just going to have to do this low tech. So just have a little talk. Which one of those, you might be able to see a connection, as in like they could all possibly be used on your fish and chips, but which one is the odd one out? Is it ketchup? Is it vinegar? Is it salt? So obviously, other than just saying, it's salt, you've got to have a reason for that. And the way that I like to do this is there's no right answer. If you can come up with a reason why one particular thing, the ketchup is the odd one out, or the vinegar is the odd one out, or the salt is the odd one out, then you're correct. So just have a little talk with the people you are viewing with. Which one of those is the odd one out? And if you're able to type a comment, that'd be great, because my wife might relay them to me, and we can just acknowledge some of those as well. Off you go. Okay. Hi, Eva and Emma. Lucy and Josh.
Joanna and Jack are excited.
Good to see Joanna and Jack are excited. Joanne and Jack are excited too. Okay, so we've got our first answer. So Stephanie says salt, because the others are liquid. So there you go. So that's the right answer. But there are many, many right answers. Okay, we've got someone else agreeing with that. So if we just go through, can we think of any reason why?
Ethan thinks ketchup because it's got both in.
Okay, Ethan thinks ketchup because what?
It has both in.
Both in, what's liquid and solid?
I guess so, yeah.
That's very interesting. Actually, ketchup is definitely the odd one out, because ketchup is a very interesting substance. It's called a thixotropic liquid. And the reason that you could say ketchup is the odd one out is because it changes when you shake it. Those of you that have ever used ketchup in a bottle will have had that moment where the ketchup doesn't come out. And then when you shake it, suddenly it does. So if you shake ketchup, it kind of changes it from more of a solid into a runnier liquid. So that's a great one, Ethan.
Let me say some more. And Julie's boys both say salt because the other two are acidic.
Oh, brilliant. So that's a really scientific one. So Julie's boys both say salt because the other two substances are acidic. So we're getting onto the science, and that's absolutely bang on, because salt is neutral, has a pH of 7, and these two are both acidic. Actually, ketchup contains quite a lot of vinegar, so that's an interesting one, and one that we might come back to later on. So there we go. We'll possibly leave it there with the odd one out. Just the idea is that, it doesn't have to be scientific. It can be as simple as, you like one of them and not the other one. There's always a reason that you can find why one thing is the odd one out. So thanks, guys. Thanks for taking part in that. So we're going to go straight in now to our first investigation. And this one is called Shiny Pennies. And we'll just take a moment to think about doing sort of science things, investigations and experiments before we start. Because really, however you dress it up, and whether you're, kind of like a scientist on the cutting edge of, trying to figure out things important to everyday life, or whether you're just like us, having a bit of fun in our kitchens today, or wherever, science is really sort of broken down into the same sort of procedure. So you come up with, some sort of hypothesis or prediction. something that you want to try and test. And then you go ahead and devise your test and you test it and you kind of observe and measure and see what happens. And then you finish off that process by trying to explain what happened and reach some sort of conclusion before you go off and try something else. And that kind of basic process is the same in pretty much all sort of scientific testing and activity. So we're going to keep that in mind as we work with these two investigations this morning. I'm hoping you can see this well enough, but do feedback if it's not ideal, and perhaps we can change the location if we do anything like this again. So I'm going to talk you through the equipment we've got here. So we've got some sort of nuts and bolts that we'll come to later. We've got a collection of copper coins, that's important, and we've kind of like looked for ones that are almost as dirty as possible, just picked them up from wherever they might be lying around in the house. Down the back of the sofas as a good one, you might find some there. And we've got two containers here. Mine are, I'm very proud of my sort of scientific beakers. I brought those out especially for today, and then just something to stir with. Okay, so what we're going to do is, and the idea is that you'll do this obviously later, we're going to just add some vinegar quite generously to one of these beakers. This is the sort of stuff that you would pickle things in. My wife's worried about me using it all. It's the sort of thing that you would pickle stuff in, but we think that I think we've got some people going to try out some different vinegars today, and that's the beauty of this. Just try it and see if it works. And then we're going to take a spoonful of salt, and then I'm going to go ahead. It's going to be a bit noisy because I'm going to sort of try and dissolve that salt into the vinegar, and I'm just going to keep going until that's all gone. This is kind of like a different scientific investigation, turning this into a solution that we could perhaps talk about another day. Okay, and then we're going to, once that's done, it's pretty nearly dissolved. In fact, I might as well finish the job. Now, talking about this one in light of the kind of scientific procedure, because the investigation is called Clean Pennies, we've got some idea of what's going to happen here, but we'll do that now anyway. So I'm just going to put the pennies on the pennies and 2p's on the spoon here and lower them into that solution so that we don't break the glass. Okay, and then what we're going to do is count 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and we're going to come back and look at what's happened here. And actually at this point I do need some water in my other beaker because we're going to need to clean these off. And if I start fishing these out and kind of popping them in the water and rinsing them off, you will see that something, I don't know if you can see that. Is that coming out well? Can you see that?
It's about 30 seconds.
Oh, okay. So that's rather remarkably shiny just in those 10 seconds after being dipped in that salt and vinegar solution. So that's kind of very satisfying just on its own. Do make sure you clean them all off, and yeah, I think, you know, some of you will enjoy just the process of doing that and kind of cleaning your money. The second and third parts of this investigation involve putting the nuts and bolts now into the solution that we've taken the coins out of to see what happens. And I'm going to let you do that on your own and see if you observe anything from that later on. And then the final part is the science bit, because we want to try and get some sort of understanding of why that has happened. It's not magic, although it kind of looks like it. There is a scientific reason and process behind what's going on there. So what I'd really like is if you guys could perhaps share pictures of your coins and do some kind of finding out about the science behind what's happened there, and share that with us in some way later on. Okay, so that's experiment number 1.
Someone from Australia, Janine.
Janine from Australia. Well, thank you for joining us. Must be kind of late at night where you are, so so thank you for joining us.
Hi to Bonnie.
Hi to Bonnie. Is that Bonnie Raymond on the boat? Hey Bonnie. Right, so we're now going to go on to investigation number 2, and this one I'm just going to show you how to set up, because this is one that you will need to run by yourselves. So this is called walking water. The equipment that you need for this is you need 3 containers. Yeah, 3 good size. These are pint sized glasses, but anything like the beakers we had before, or even cups, will work fine. We've got some food colouring here, variety of kind of food colours, which we'll need in a second. And then this is just regular kitchen towel. Now, I know this sort of thing is at a premium at the moment. Actually, I thought it was funny when somebody suggested that the treasure for the treasure hunt be loo roll yesterday. But I'm sure we can spare two sheets for science. I think there's always a case for using things in the cause of the advancement of science. So what we're going to do with these pieces of kitchen towels, we're just going to fold them in quarters lengthways. So hopefully you can see me doing that, and I'm just going to kind of iron that fold out a little bit with the knife here. And then we need to fold them into thirds. And again, I'll sort of iron that with the knife. Hi Lynn, we'll let you off for being late, no problem, glad you're here. So we want something like that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that with the second one as well, and then we'll be ready to set this investigation up. Okay, so there we go, like that, and as we said, into thirds again. Hi to Blue and Mav. Hi Blue and Mav in Scarborough, watching us in Scarborough. You know Scarborough quite well. We have relatives in Scarborough. Glad you can join us this morning. Okay, so there's those 2 bits of towel. We've got our 3 receptacles here, and I'm going to bring in my jug full of water. Now, I'm sorry about this because this is not very scientific. Not quite the same scientific impact as my beakers, but these are times where we need to improvise. So I'm just going to fill up 2 of the 3 beakers fairly close to the top, and again go quite close to the top of whatever you're using, because the paper towel, the kitchen towel, will need to sit in this water. Okay, and then we're going to colour it, just so we can see what's going on a bit better. So I've got some yellow food colouring here. I'm going to just pop a couple of drops in there if there's any left. Ooh.
That's food colouring. It's paste.
That's all right, it still works. I'll pop a little bit of that in there, and then I'm going to pop beetroot juice or natural colourings would work really nicely too. And then I'm going to pop some blue in there. Now I'm just going to use my knife as a kind of mixing tool. Hi to Naya and Amelia. Hi Naya and Amelia, thanks for joining us. Okay, so we've now got 1 beaker of yellow water and 1 beaker of blue water. Okay. And we are going to finish setting up this investigation by just popping, in fact I'll get those at a kind of a slightly different angle so they don't interfere with each other. I am just going to pop that paper towel into the yellow beaker so that it hangs, just get this right, so that it hangs over the edge of this beaker here. There we go. And then Similarly, I hope you can see this. Perhaps it's better if I do it this way so that you can see what's going on. From the blue water, again, into that empty third beaker. Now, we are just going to, I've got mine set up on this board so I can just move it as it is. We're just going to go ahead now and leave that, and we've entered this kind of observe phase of the scientific investigation, but we kind of got there without doing a prediction yet. So let's pause for a moment and think about what could possibly happen here. What do we think could happen? So when we did the marble runs, we talked about gravity and the earth attracting the marble towards it, so that it essentially dropped through your marble runs. So if we apply the same principle here, we would just expect our coloured water to sit in those beakers that it's currently in and for nothing to happen. And of course, there are various other things that could possibly happen. So what's your prediction? What's your hypothesis here? What do you think is going to happen if we leave this as it is, walk away, come back in, say, an hour or so and check on it? What do you think might have happened? Just have a little chat with the people you're watching with, and if you have got any thoughts, do share them on the comments, and maybe we can mention one or two. Hi, Elliot.
Hello, Angie and Cherry in Norwich.
Hi, Angie and Cherry in Norwich. Thanks for joining us.
Alia and Lyra and Burton on Trent.
And Alia and Lyra on Burton on Trent. Hi, thanks for joining us. Right.
Oh, Ethan and Amelia in the Midlands want to shout out.
Hi, Ethan. Hi, Amelia. Thanks for joining us. Right. Any predictions about what we think?
Says green water in the empty glass.
Oh, okay. Green water in the empty glass. That's a bold prediction. How could that happen? That would be magic, surely.
Jennifer says the blue and yellow water soak through the kitchen roll and fill the middle cup.
The blue and yellow water. This is Jennifer. Soak through the kitchen roll and fill the middle cup. So, I mean, I would love for that to happen. That would be absolutely amazing. I think it's one of these ones where we're just going to have to set it up. And I would advise with this one, because I did do it yesterday and actually really enjoyed, even as an adult, coming back to it and checking what was happening. Be patient with this one. Don't expect, if anything does happen, don't expect it to happen in the next 5 minutes. Let it go through the course of the day and see what happens. And of course, you can have, you don't have to have 2 cups. You can have 3 cups. You can have just 1 cup. The water can be colored. It doesn't have to be. It's completely up to you. You can try it with different, liquids as well. So same as with the first one, what we'd like you to do is try this and then report back. So we'll wind things up now, because I noticed that this has been longer perhaps than normal. So we don't want you guys getting bored. We want you to get on with trying these things out. While you get busy with doing that, I will set up the sort of conclusion thread. I'll also link a couple of resources in case you want to record this in a more formal way for your records, or if you keep files of the things that you do at home. Just one quick thing that I think I might have forgotten. When we were talking about the shiny coins, did I mention that you could also try it in ketchup instead of vinegar? I don't think I did. So just as a little trial alongside your vinegar thing, squeeze some ketchup over a coin, a 1p or 2p coin, and see what happens with that as well, just out of interest. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining me, and it was nice to do sort of more name checks and so on today. So let's hope we can continue with that. Good luck with your investigations. Please do share. We love to see what you've got up to and what your thoughts are. Apart from that, have a wonderful day. And I'll be back in touch later on with details about what we're planning to do in our live session tomorrow. That's it from me. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.